Welcome back. How do you restart your life in a foreign country where you don't know anybody? Our guest, May King, is telling us just how she did that.
May King, what do you think Australians can learn from immigrants?
That's a very good question. I guess from a personal perspective, just acceptance, I suppose. I think that, you know, because that was something that was a little bit tricky, you know, settling in and talking to certain sectors of the community, but not being heard.
Yeah.
So I think acceptance and tolerance is something that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It did sound that that's what you weren't getting when you were talking to us before. So then on that note, Australia is known as a multicultural country. Do you think, or do you feel racism is still evident in our country?
I'm afraid it is. And in fact, you know, we touched on this subject before where when I speak, people do the double take on me because, you know, I look foreign and then I have this British accent, and so it used to offend me,
right?
Because I was never looked at differently in the UK. But then after reading upon Australian history, I realised that, well, because Australia's a relatively new country, not that I am not that I accept racism, but I can put it in context, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I'm not condoning it, but because Australia is relatively new, I can understand why people are not used to seeing, you know, Chinese immigrants with a British accent and the rest of it. And so I've got to the point now where I'm tolerating it, the challenges that people have, but I make a joke out of it now. So I'll say, "Hi, I'm May King. I'm a BBC, British-born Chinese," and then it makes people giggle.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Interesting.
Now, May King, you were just, this is really interesting, and I'm really interested in this question. You were just settling into your new life when your divorce came about. How did this affect your visa status?
That's a very good question. I came in on my husband's visa. And so when he announced he wanted a divorce, he had to tell immigration that we're separated. And so that did have an effect, because immigration called me and said, okay, what are you going to do? If you don't do anything, you've got 28 days to leave the country.
Wow.
So I was devastated. Had to get used to the fact that I was getting a divorce, and then had to get used to the fact that I'm going to be on my own after
in a foreign country. Let's
in
not
a foreign
forget
country with no family here. But I didn't realise my friends were there, and they came through when I really needed them. So I had a business making tea, and in order to build that business, I wanted to build connections with people. And so in listening to other business owners who said they use Facebook for their business, I created a group called Queensland Business Group to connect with other Queensland business owners. And so after a couple of years of building connections, helping other business owners to make connections, to make money and so on, it was my turn to ask for help. And it's not something that I normally am used to doing. I'm normally used to helping other people, you know. So with the assistance of some of the Queensland business members, we actually created a crowdfunding video and announced to the group what had happened. I needed a new visa. The new visa was $3,300. I didn't have that money because all the money that I'd earned from making tea I put back into the business. So I actually had to ask Queensland Business, if any of you made connections, if you found value in the group, if you think that this group needs to stay and you'd like me to stay because I created it, I would be really grateful if you could show a bit of gratitude by way of a few dollars.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
the money was raised in 24 hours,
Impressive.
which is phenomenal. So I'd heard about the Queensland Spirit, and the Queensland Spirit they all came and helped me.
Can I interrupt you there? That sounds like such a contrast to one of the earlier questions we asked when I said, did anyone, go out of their way and offer you a helping hand, and you didn't get any help then.
Yeah.
And now, look at the difference.
It was amazing. It was absolutely
Wow.
phenomenal.
Really
And, I mentioned that I didn't realise that I had friends.
Right.
And they
yeah.
were there all the time. I just didn't ask for their help. And when I asked for their help, it came back to me 360.
And I hear so many women say that. How many times have your girlfriends, when they've been
We don't need
at
any
a low,
help.
yeah,
That's
say
right.
all of a sudden, I'm like, you've been
That's
here all
right,
along.
Yeah, so in all that time, I'd helped other business owners, and then when I needed their help, they came back and they helped me, and my friends came out of the woodwork. It was phenomenal. It's great.
What kind of struggles did you face when applying for the new visa? You mentioned before, with obviously it being expensive was one of the challenges, but what were some of the other challenges you faced with applying for a new visa?
Emotionally, it was very, very stressful. Because, as you say, it's expensive. I couldn't. Fortunately, the money was raised for the visa, but I couldn't afford an immigration lawyer to help me complete the form, so I did that by myself. And I thought, well, I should be fine. I can read the questions and answer them. But in not using money to get help from an immigration lawyer, it actually came to bite me on the bottom, because in August the visa was rejected. So immigration called me again and said, okay, what are you going to do if you don't have an alternative? You're going to have to leave the country. So so that was very stressful. So the visa process was emotionally distressing, financially distressing, and also, I had to do that in a foreign country with no family here. I mean, my family are always in my heart. They're in the UK and I can talk to them. But it was stressful.
Wow.
However, with the business community that I'd built and I'd created, they were just absolutely wonderful. And I needed their help again. So when immigration contacted me in August, by this point, Queensland Business was on the verge of being started up as a company. And so two of the directors, we all sat down together via Skype and we said, okay, we need to set up a political campaign, social media campaign, and have you stay
so
here.
Much to listen to. Look, we might leave it there just for now,
Sure.
but when we come back, we'll hear more of Mei King's story and what the future holds for her. We'll be right back.